What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing well. We are going to revisit the Vapor 15 AirZoom, except this time in the AG model. All right, guys, so jumping straight into the unboxing. So as I said before, this is the AG model, and this is the model that a lot of people had questions about simply because it's more conical studs and they've gone back to a much more traditional looking sole plate, but with conical studs, which is pretty awesome. They've also kept the AirZoom unit in there, which is different from previous generations where the sole plate on the AG model was completely different from the FG model. So I'm very, very excited to see kind of what they do with that. So per usual with the Nike Elite boxes, you've got the typical gray box, very, very standard Nike logo on the top. The Nike logo here, you can see it is in my size 9 US. That is my usual size 9, and then it's just Nike logos on all sides. So let's get these unboxed. These are in the all black with the Volt, I believe. What do they say? It's the smoke gray. Wow, interesting. Well, there's some yellow on there. I don't know why they didn't put it on there, but okay, here we go. Unboxing the Vapor 15 Elite in the AG. Ooh, man. Okay, so these are super cool looking. I love this black colorway. Holy moly. Okay, so the gray they're talking about is like that smoke gray, the smoke gray around the Nike swoosh, and then the gray that is around where the Air is. And then of course you've got that AG plate. So let's get these out of the box. We'll talk a little bit about tech specs as well and go over, so if you haven't seen the review of the FG model in that special white colorway, then you can kind of stay here and figure it out. This is what the AirZoom Mercurial bag looks like, and funny enough, these are actually going to my coach here at Flower City who wears a size 9 and wanted the AG model, but he said I could review them beforehand, so that's pretty awesome. So these are, let's get this right there for you guys. Okay, so here is the AirZoom Mercurial Vapor 15 Elite in the black colorway. I think these look absolutely stunning. I'm such a sucker for black boots. I think they look so clean, really, really nice looking. All the material is the same for this one. So going over a few tech specs of the Vapor 15 Elite, they've introduced the AirZoom unit in the bottom right here. So they've introduced this AirZoom unit that goes about 3/4 of the length of the boot, all the way from about right before your heel, all the way up to the toe area. And what it does is what it's supposed to do is add some more snapback, but a lot more cushioning and padding sensation in this forefoot area. And I can tell you from reviewing the other boot and the FG model that those do such a unique job of creating this padded sensation. And you can actually push down here and feel that AirZoom unit. I have yet to find out if the AirZoom unit actually doesn't feel as plush as when it's out of the box, but that is to be determined with the 1-month review, probably coming in the next couple months or so. Other things that have changed, obviously, we'll go over the AG plate in just a minute, but the upper from Vapor 14 to Vapor 15 is now what's called a Vapor Posit. And as you can see, it is quite soft out of the box. It's a little bit stiff, but definitely not as stiff as something like an X Ghosted or an X Speed Portal 0.1, which I think by the time you guys have seen this video, that video has already come out. And as you guys know from that video, I really was not a fan of the Speed Portal 0.1, but these ones are really, really fantastic. I love the feel of the Vapor, and I am excited to see what the AG model feels like on feet, which is super, super cool. So the way that they've changed this is actually simply by putting conical studs where most of those triangular, or they were like a 3-pronged star-shaped studs were on these. So if you can see, we'll go back into this B cam here. So each of these studs in the FG model, there's a few more here, obviously, because it's an AG plate, but all of these were where those triangular studs were. And then you had the 2 studs right in the middle there, and then the 4-stud construction in the back stays pretty much the same, except these back ones are now conical studs with the bladed studs in front of them. So the cool thing about this plate is that this actually looks really, really similar to what the really popular AG, or excuse me, it was just the FG plate, but on the Tiempo 3 and Tiempo 4 Elite was. If you guys remember those boots, those were the first introduction of the Kangalite along with the CTR, and they had the tongue, that was Tiempo Legend 3 Elite, and they came for the World Cup 2010, and then they were introduced with a maroon colorway and a couple other ones. But that Elite sole plate had 4 conical studs on the lateral and the medial side, a single bladed stud in the middle, and then 4 conical studs in the back. Now this one has bladed studs because it's a Vapor, you gotta get a little more traction, or at least make it look like there's a little more traction. But this sole plate was worn by so many players. You often saw it with Neymar, Busquets wore it, especially when it got into the Phantom line. So when he wore the Hypervenom Phantom 3 and then as he wears the GTs now, you can still see that sole plate on his boots. So he gets them custom made with that same sole plate, and it's basically this sole plate, which I think is super, super cool. And it's what a wonderful idea by Nike to put such a functional, awesome sole plate and stud pattern on a boot that's already really fantastic. This boot with the new Vaporposit upper, with the sort of the combination between the comfort of a Vapor 13 Elite and the structure and the vaporness of a Vapor 14 Elite, they created this, and it is definitely less stiff than a Vapor 14, a little bit more structured than a Vapor 13, and it creates this really incredible tight-fitting Vapor sensation, which I think is going to be really popular for a long time. Now, the AirZoom unit is another thing that I think is sort of hit or miss depending on who you are. Some people really like it, some people don't really like it. For me, I find it to be really cushiony. It's very unique, so it does take getting used to a little bit, and I'll talk about that more in a couple weeks when my 1-month review launches, which I haven't even started obviously yet because I've only had the boots now for probably about a week and a half. So my goal is to play in a full month, play in training sessions. I probably won't play any games in them just because the Vapors are a little bit too thin for my foot, so I tend to switch out of them halfway through a session. But trust me, I will get plenty of playtime in them so you guys will understand really how good they are, whether they hold up, whether the AirZoom unit stays as plush as it is right out of the box. I don't assume it will, just because, especially if you're playing like this on an AG pitch, that padding really does start to wear after a while, and because AG pitches are so tough and hard usually, I would imagine that you're not going to feel it as much moving forward, even if it still is there and it does provide that good amount of lockdown, or excuse me, not lockdown, but good amount of structure and spring moving forward. In my experience with these AirZoom units, it definitely is not as springy as the Speed Portal or the Speed Flow. So if you have, or the Ghosted. So anything from Adidas with a Carbitex insert, it's not gonna be as springy. So if you guys can see there, it kind of bends, see there, and then it really kind of holds, and then it doesn't really spring back as much as the Carbitex insert does. It still does a little bit, but it's not as energy return focused as it is a unique sensation of bouncing. So a lot of your foot muscles are gonna be working probably a little bit harder in this boot than they are in a Carbitex plated boot from Adidas, but at the same time, these are a fantastic pair of boots that fit really snug, are comfortable, and are going to be long lasting. I mean, the quality of this upper is really, really nice. I think they've done a really good job of making this feel super, super premium out of the box. Now, a couple things about this boot that I think are really cool. So obviously the Vaporposit upper, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it on camera, but right along this area right here, and then this area right here on the lateral side are almost see-through. Like you can almost see where my finger is. I don't know if I'm actually gonna be able to catch that on camera, but it's right down, like right in there. Hopefully, I hope you can see that. But it basically looks like there's less material, and you can kind of see, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see my finger on the other side, but it's a super, super thin textile upper here. And then it has this little bit of padding on the inside, which is actually super, super cool. It's a tiny little layer of mesh that actually makes this boot feel a little bit more padded than Vapor 14. which I prefer. I like a little bit more padding on my boots. I do really like the F50s from the 2010 era, those the remakes that I wear quite often. Those ones are amazing and they're way thinner than this, and I do appreciate and love those. But for the majority of my boots, I do really like something that even has a tiny bit of padding. You're still gonna get a barefoot sensation out of these. You're still gonna get that raw vapor-like feel, but it is gonna be a little bit more padded probably than the Vapor 14, which was just straight, that first generation Vaporposit, which was a synthetic. It was very mercurial-esque. It was super thin. Everything was, you know, good to go. As far as width goes, these boots are not that thin. They're not that wide, excuse me. They're definitely a little bit wider in the forefoot and the midfoot area than Vapor 14 was, and traditionally in the past what Vapors look like. But these probably won't be suitable for players that have extremely wide feet and maybe even medium wide feet. So if you've got thin feet all the way to the average size foot, you're gonna fit perfectly in this. And then after that point of foot width, if you've got any wider than that, I think that's something that you're gonna have to decide on your own whether you want to try to break these in or not. In my experience, in the several sessions, I've probably had 5 or 6 sessions in wearing the white version of these that I've reviewed already, and they're the same idea, same fit, same width, everything. These aren't going to be boots that I play in games in, that I can manage them in training sessions, probably half an hour to 45 minutes maybe of a training session, but they just are too thin for my foot. And so as much as I think these are such an incredible boot and such a great boot to have in my repertoire basically, so in my locker, they aren't a boot that I'm going to be wearing full time, even though the tech and the idea behind this boot is super, super cool. I really like the design of the Air unit. I think it feels good. But that's sort of my thoughts on what the Vapor is. But as far as most people go, i.e. anyone in the average foot size down to really thin feet, these are gonna fit perfectly. My coach tried these on yesterday and in the locker room and said they fit absolutely perfectly. I'm gonna go on feet in just a minute and you guys will see what they look like on feet, so no worries there. But this is just such a cool boot. I love the black, I love the design. I think this is such an awesome concept, and I wish they did more blackouts because, such a sucker for blackouts. So without further ado, guys, let's hop straight into the on-feet portion of the video, and I'll describe what you guys are all here for, which is what are the differences between the AG and the FG model, and we'll bring both boots out and really get a sense of what these are like on an AG pitch and whether you should purchase these or the FG model. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I have the AG Vapor 15 Elites here on pitch, and I'm here at the beautiful Rochester Stadium. I'm so stoked to be doing the review here where our home team, my home team, Flower City Union plays. And for comparison, I have the FG model, and as you can see, they are super, super similar in construction. It's literally just these two back plates, and then of course there's a little more studs as opposed to more of the bladed like triangular studs. So let's try these on. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try on the right foot of the AG, and then I'll put on first the left foot of the FG model. That way you guys can get a sense of what a little bit more broken in pair looks like. So there you go. Fits really well, actually. They're super snug. My toes right up on the front. And they are a little bit thin, but that's okay. So now we'll get this one on, and my foot slides right in, and those are awesome. Super, super comfortable right out of the box. Let's get these a little bit out of the way. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a ball just so you can see, but I imagine that the touch is gonna be no different just because it is the exact same shoe. So here we are. All right, so on feet, as you can see, guys, the AG model really doesn't look any different when they're on the ground. It's only when you lift up when you can even get a sense of the fact that they have conical studs instead of bladed studs. And at the end of the day, it's really about personal preference. I can feel the AirZoom unit equally in both feet, especially on the knuckle, like on the ball of both feet. They're really noticeable when you go up on your toes. I will say there feels, especially on the AG, like a little bit less stud pressure on the AG model. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I don't think there's a negative amount of stud pressure on the FG model. It's just that there's less of it. I can feel the studs less on the AG model, and that's exactly how it's meant to be, right? So touch on the ball on these boots is exactly the same. Obviously the white ones, the FGs that I have on my feet, are a little bit more broken in because I've actually worn them, whereas the black ones are brand new, but the black ones do feel really good. So no harm, no foul there. Yeah, really, really like these Vapors. I think these Vapors are super, super comfortable out of the box. I'm actually considering wearing these for training today, which is an interesting one. So we'll see. But yeah, very cool pair of boots. Really unique sensation on feet. The AG does give you, for sure, a little bit more flex when you're moving side to side and pivoting, especially. There's a lot more, as you can see there. Like, that's easy pivot, and this is a little bit tougher. I do feel a little bit stickier on that one as well. So that's just something to keep in mind if you are interested in buying the AG versus the FG. And what we'll do is I'll get the laces tied up tight just so you can see what the broken in ones look like versus what the AG ones, the brand new ones, look like. I'm not going to wear the AG ones too much just because they are going straight to my coach who is buying them from me. Because he actually special ordered these basically and was like, hey, you should review these and then I'll buy them from you. And I was like, perfect. So I want to keep these really clean. So I don't want to do much to them, but I will tie the laces tight just to give you guys an idea of what a new one next to a broken in one looks like. It's the same material, same upper, exact same design. It's just the black versus the white. In the comment section down below, tell me which ones you like better. Do you like the white with the red, or do you like the black with that awesome gray and white accent color? I am really struggling. I actually really like this black. I think it's a super good looking boot. They fit really well, and definitely will take some time to break in, but no issues so far. And there's that zoom unit on both. I think for sure the sole plate of the FG looks better, just out of personal preference. That's my personal preference, but at the end of the day, it is up to you what you decide to wear, whether you decide to wear AG or FG. It's definitely a personal preference. So touch on the ball, again, really, really beautiful, really nice barefoot sensation, and you really are gonna get that one-to-one barefoot feel. They are a little bit more padded, as I said, inside, about how that little tiny mesh on the inside of the interior of the upper makes the boot have a tiny bit of cushion to it, but it's just subtle enough where you're not really gonna feel that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, and you really are gonna notice how awesome the touch is, and it gives you that one-to-one sensation of being able to dribble. It's really seamless. As you guys know, with most Vapors, you're getting a totally distraction-free upper, right? There's no special grip elements. There's nothing to make your shot more powerful or whatever they market it to you as. It's just a beautiful, smooth upper. You get total freedom to do whatever you want with ball movement because you've got a seamless surface all the way around the boot. So it really does feel like a fantastic pair of football boots, especially when you compare them to something like a previous generation or a couple generations ago. So these are pretty fantastic. And the AirZoom unit, again, it's something you got to get used to, but it is really, really nice. I would say let's do a comparison between these and the other top end boots that I know of. So I don't have the Puma Ultimates in yet, but those are supposed to be really amazing. But compare these to the 1.4s. I like these better. Compare these to the new Speed Portals. I like the Plus Speed Portal, I think, a little bit better than these, but these for me are a very close second to those Speed Portal Pluses, and that's only because the Speed Portal 0.1, in my opinion, is really not that good. They went downhill in my opinion on that one. If you can get the Speed Flow 0.1 while it's still available, get those, but I would actually pick these over the Speed Portal or Speed Flow 0.1 as well. So that's just my own opinion. Take it or leave it. Let me know down in the comments below which colorway you like, and would you buy this over something like a Speed Portal or a Puma Ultra? The AG plate is going to be suitable for both FG and AG. So if you're playing on both surfaces, I would recommend going with the AG model, especially because the only thing they've done to it is just put the conical studs on there. What I would definitely be aware of is if you are somebody who has to have the most aggressive sole plate, just go with the FG variation. They sell both. I bought these on Unisport. You can get them on ProDirect as well. So those are two websites that are pretty easily accessible for most people in the world because they ship worldwide. So that's a review of these beautiful AirZoom Mercurial Vapor 15 Elite in the black and gray colorway. I'm very stoked to be able to get the opportunity. So thank you to our coach who let me use these for the review, and I'm very excited for him to be able to wear them and enjoy them and really get a sense of what they're like. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video with him later on as well with, hey, after a month, how have you enjoyed wearing these? Do they fit your foot? And maybe we'll do a little side-by-side comparison. That's it for the review, guys. If you like these types of reviews, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. As always, be awesome, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.